Hello everyone, today I'll be showing you how to make your own hydroponic setup in a 5-gallon bucket with simple aquarium parts. You can see here that I have it sitting in my basement, below my 2 Aerogarden setups, and that is where it is getting its light. Here you can see all the parts that were used to build this. They were all bought from either Home Depot or Amazon. I'll have links in the description on where you could get them, as well as their associated price. So the first step is to take the bucket and cut a hole for the pot. Thankfully, on this bucket, the hole in the middle from just the construction of the lid is about the right size for the pot. You'll want to go ahead and cut a hole that is the right diameter to fit the pot in, allowing it to hang into the water, but holding it in place. If you have a hole cutter with the correct diameter, that's great. Otherwise, something like a Dremel works great. This is supposed to be a cheap project, so I was not going to go buy a tool specifically for this project that's only going to get used once. After cutting the hole, I then used the sander attachment to widen it until it fit the pot perfectly. After cleaning out the bucket, the next step is to set up the air hose, since this is an aerated water system. So I have the air hose, and then I'll use a flow check valve in between the hose and the pump to make sure the water doesn't get into the pump. I'm using a large air stone to make sure that the air is getting around a whole lot in the bucket instead of just being concentrated in a single area. It helps a lot with the air hose if you cut a hole for it. Thankfully with the Dremel, the attachment I was using was about the same diameter as the air hose, which made it a fairly easy hole to cut. At this point, it was time to fill up the bucket after connecting the air line to the air stone. I would recommend filling the bucket in the final spot you're going to have it, as after you put water in it, it weighs about 40 pounds, and it spills easily. I then turned on the air pump to make sure that the air stone, air hose, and pump were all in working order. Here you can see that it bubbles quite well throughout the whole bucket. Once I had everything hooked up and moved down to the basement, where I should have done in the first place, I added about 20 milliliters of plant food. After feeding, I added the pebbles, and then I topped off the water until the pebbles started to float. It's really important when you first start especially to make sure that the seeds are wet, so that they don't just sit there and mold. I then took 5 of my Space Saver cucumber seeds and put them on the pebbles. I made a point to put a couple of them underneath the pebbles, just so that they were in different positions in case some didn't grow for some reason, and some did grow for some reason. Thankfully, all of the seeds ended up germinating. After that, I put some more pebbles on top of the seeds just to make sure they were covered, and that's the last step. And then I just let the pot sit for the next few weeks and waited to see if there was any growth. It was in the basement, so it was around 70 degrees all the time, and the only light source was the 2 lights off of my Aerogarden bounties.
Hello everyone, it is me, but in the future. So, this is the hydroponic bucket with cucumbers. Today is October 12th. They've been growing for 67 days, and this is what we got. A couple giant leaves. I've trimmed off a few leaves that were here and dying. You can see it's starting to flower. Now these are Space Saver cucumbers. I've never grown these before, so I'm not quite sure what to expect. However, I'll go ahead and take a look. Been feeding it every 2 weeks, 15 milliliters of plant food. If we open it up, I have not added any water. You can see the roots. You can see the water level's gone down just a little bit. As they continue to grow, the water level should continue to drop. And I'll just let it until the roots are dry or it looks too low. So, for reference, this is 67 days of growth. And then up here, these are bell peppers. And this is only 55 days of growth. So I do think that the proximity to the light has a major impact on growth. And those have been growing for 180 days or so. They're starting to die. I'm going to have to replace them soon. So you can see it's growing, just not as quick as the other plants. And I think that is definitely because of the proximity to lights. So, this might be a great system on a porch. If you have light ahead or above, just from the sun. Might also just be a great system by a window. Or if you have your own dedicated light. I know you can buy just lights, string them up yourself. But yeah, I would say so far it's a success. I assume the flowers will put out fruit. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments.